Welcome back, friend. Have you ever wondered what your life would have looked like if you'd made just one different choice? Let's see the story of this man who had a chance to do just that.
Chalk dust settled on Daniel's sleeve as he set the last graded essay on the pile and looked up at the clock. 4:15. He'd promised Claire he'd be home in time for dinner, and he meant to keep the promise this time. He'd taught here for 6 years, Claire's alma mater, technically, though she teased him that he'd only gotten hired to be near her again. And there was enough truth in it that he never fully denied it. They'd sat together in the back row of this building once, close enough to touch and too shy to try. He liked to think about that history when he walked these halls, because lately there wasn't much else in the marriage he liked thinking about. The house, when he got home, was quiet in the wrong way. Claire was at the table, grading her own students' work, and didn't look up when he came in.
You said 5, she said. I know. I'm sorry. You always know. You're always sorry. She still didn't look up. Ben asked if you were coming to his thing tomorrow. I told him I wasn't sure. I'll be there. You said that about the last one, too. He didn't have an answer for that, so he didn't give one. He ate standing at the counter. In the front office that morning, the school secretary had handed him a package and said, cheerfully, that it was nice to see him smiling for once. He hadn't realized, until she said it, how rarely that must be true. He fell asleep that night without resolving anything, the way he usually did. He woke to a city skyline through floor-to-ceiling glass and the particular ache in his neck that came from too many hours hunched over spreadsheets. He was an accountant now, his name on the door, D. Carter, senior partner. Married 8 years to Rachel, someone he'd once worked beside at his first job, a leaving drinks conversation that had almost turned into something, before he'd taken a promotion in another city and let it go quiet. In this life, he hadn't let it go quiet. Their younger son had a school play that evening. He told himself he'd make it, the way he told himself most nights. He caught the last 10 minutes, found Rachel in the parking lot afterward, with their son already buckled into the car, both of them wearing the specific patience of people who'd stopped being surprised already. He looked for you, Rachel said, during the bows. I saw him looking. I was there. For 10 minutes. She wasn't angry, which was somehow worse than if she hadn't been. I'm not asking you to be a different person, Daniel. I'm just tired of explaining you to our kids. Someone from the office had mentioned, on his way out that evening, that she'd called twice. He hadn't picked up either time. The house after that had marble underfoot and a silence money hadn't managed to fill. He ran a company that had never really been his, inherited it, in a sense, through a woman named Whitney, whose father had built half the skyline of the city, who had laughed at something he'd said at a holiday party years before any of this was real. Now it was real, and full of things he didn't have time for. Their son kept drawings pinned to the refrigerator that Daniel walked past 3 mornings running without looking at, because there was always a call to take first. Whitney found him in his study one night, the light from his laptop the only light in the room. He stopped bringing them to you, she said. The drawings. Have you noticed? He hadn't. He used to wait by the door for you. He doesn't anymore. She wasn't cruel about it. She just said it the way you'd point out a light left on in another room, something obviously true that somebody ought to deal with. His office had called that afternoon to say his son's teacher had tried to reach him. Twice. He never called back.
The fourth life was smaller, and for a while quieter in his chest, which made it worse when it went wrong the same way. A house with a garden that needed staking, a wife named Megan, the first girl he'd ever liked without having a word for what liking someone meant, before her family had moved away and, in this life, hadn't. Their daughter talked constantly about becoming a marine biologist, breathless and unstoppable the way children are before they learn adults stop listening. And Daniel loved that about her in the abstract, and in the particular, kept finding reasons to be in the next room when she started. At the nursery down the road, someone at the register mentioned that the tomatoes he'd bought last time should have been staked earlier, and he'd nodded and forgotten again by the time he got home. He found Megan on the porch one evening, arms crossed against the cold, watching their daughter through the window as she talked to no one, rehearsing something to tell him later that he probably wouldn't hear. "She stopped waiting for you to ask," Megan said, not turning around. "Did you notice that too?" "I've been busy." "You're always busy," in a way that isn't quite true. She said it gently, which somehow made it land harder. "I don't need you to fix anything, Daniel. I just need you to be in the room when you're in the room." He lay awake that night, really awake, for the first time in longer than he could place, and did something he hadn't let himself do yet. He counted. 4 lives. 4 wives, 4 houses, 4 versions of what happiness might have looked like from the outside, and in every single one, the same conversation waiting for him in some kitchen or porch or parking lot. You're not here, even when you're here. 4 different women saying the same true thing in 4 different voices, and in every life, a child learning slowly to stop expecting more than hold on. He didn't know, lying there, that there would be a 5th. It didn't announce itself as different. He opened his eyes in a kitchen with a chipped tile by the sink he kept meaning to fix, and nothing about the morning told him this one mattered more than the others. A woman stood at the counter, who backed to him. Their son stood in the doorway, phone held up, already mid-sentence about something, and Daniel heard his own voice answer before he'd finished registering the words.
"Hold on.
2 seconds. He watched the boy's face start to do the small, practiced thing a face does when it stopped expecting more. And then stop. Because the boy kept talking anyway, undeterred, climbing onto the stool beside him, and the woman at the counter turned and said, without any edge in it at all, "Let him finish. He's been dying to tell you since breakfast." And Daniel found himself actually listening and laughing at the right part, and the boy's whole face opened up the way a child's face does when someone finally gives them their due attention. He looked at the woman by the sink properly then, really looked, and the recognition arrived all at once, the way a held breath finally lets go. The school secretary who'd handed him a package and told him he looked happy for once. The voice from the front desk who'd said his wife had called twice. The one on the porch, the one at the nursery register, the one who'd noticed what he hadn't. 4 small, unremarkable moments in 4 unremarkable rooms. And he understood, standing there, that they had never been 4 different people.
There had only ever been one, following him through every version of a life he'd imagined, unnoticed, the way the truest things in a life often go unnoticed until it's almost too late to notice them at all. "Emily," he said, and it wasn't a question. She turned from the sink, surprised at the way he'd said it, like he was seeing her for the first time, though they'd been married 11 years. "You okay?" she asked. He thought about how to answer that, and found there wasn't a short way to. So instead, he crossed the kitchen, sat down beside his son, and said, "Tell me the rest. I want to hear all of it." The boy did. Emily leaned against the counter and listened too, and didn't ask what had changed, only reached over at some point and rested her hand on the back of Daniel's neck, the way they used to, before it became something either of them had to remember to do. And he finally knew this was real. We spend so much time searching for a better life that we forget to be present in the one we're living. Don't wait until it's too late to really see what's real. For more stories like this, ask the head.